And now we will introduce our next speaker.
Yes, I am very pleased to invite here Mr. Joachim James CALLEJA, Director of Cedefop. Mr. CALLEJA has been involved in vocational training since 2001. He has served as Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education and Employment in his native Malta. In 2005, he was entrusted with the setting up of the Malta Qualifications Council, where he served as Chief Executive. Please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Since we're running late, I assume my bird is dead. So there will be no bird singing if I go beyond my 10 minutes, which I have been allotted for. So we are very pleased at Cedefop to be co-organizers of this activity. We are very proud to work with Estonia. Our motto lately has always been that we want to think European, but we want to act locally. And therefore, engaging ourselves with the presidency is a key task that Cedefop looks forward to. And this is evidence that this is happening through my colleagues, of course, Pedro, Stellina, and others here from Cedefop who has helped in organizing this activity. Well, career guidance is a household name for me. My wife has been a career guidance officer for many years, for almost 3 decades. So whenever we talk about career guidance, this is something which I've been hearing about for many years. Of course, today, when you talk about career guidance, we have many challenges that we need to meet because the labor market is changing in such a way. As we've heard the Deputy Minister quoting the Estonian President, we need to be faster than the world. And I think when we talk about career guidance, we need to be faster than the labor market itself, because we have the responsibility to guide younger generations, but also older generations, because we talk about lifelong guidance on what skills are necessary for the labor market of today. We all know that the people in primary school, the young children in primary school today, will end up in jobs which don't exist today. On my way to Estonia yesterday afternoon, I happened to look into a business review, a magazine, and there was a very interesting article entitled, "Forget Driverless Cars. Sailor-less ships are about to make waves." And the key message of this article, when you read it, is that a Norwegian company, Yara, will launch in 2018 a sailorless ship. Meaning what? A cargo ship. This is 2018. This is next year. It will be manned next year. In 2019, it will be remotely controlled. In 2020, it will be an autonomous cargo ship moving from one port to another in Norway. Which implies what? What is the key objective here? The key objective is to remove from the streets at least 40 truck journeys a year. Which means what? It means 40,000 jobs for those who are aspiring to become truck drivers will not be there anymore. So the question I ask myself is, if automation and technology will take over most of our jobs, then I ask you and I ask ourselves as Cedefop, what kind of career guidance can we give to young people, but also to workers, to people who are already in their job? I think this is a question which requires an answer. My quick answer to it is that people need to be employable, but that's easier said than done. What does employable in the world of today mean is a big challenge for schools, for learners, for guidance teachers, and for guidance professionals. And I think the answer would be that people need to be employable, meaning that they need to possess those skills that can live with automation, that can live with technology. We have lived with machines for almost 7 decades. We can still live with machines, but what skills are necessary? What will the jobs of tomorrow be And how can we guide people towards the jobs that don't exist today? So looking deeper into this article, which was very interesting for me, and looking at the theme of the presidency in Estonia, unity through balance, what occurred to me was, in career guidance, I think when there is a balance, we should be alerted to take action. Let me give you just 3 examples which occurred to me yesterday while reading the articles. For a career professional, if there is a balance between the weight of technology, which is huge, and the burden of unskilled professionals, then we should have sleepless nights. If there is the weight of technology which is not being met by skilled professionals, as guidance teachers and as guidance professionals, we should have sleepless nights. So how can guidance help to strike a balance, an imbalance, I would say, between technology and between unskilled professionals? The second balance which frightens me, and therefore for this purpose of this conference should be seen as an imbalance, is the weight of success, which is enormous for many people, but so is the weight of failure. We have many young people who fail schools. We just heard the Deputy Minister saying how many people leave early leavers from vocational education training. Should we ask ourselves why? Even here we should have sleepless nights. Why should people leave education and training? What is wrong with education and training that does not attract young people to remain in it? Because it's the only way to find a job. No skills, no jobs. This is clear today and even more tomorrow when we will compete with a fierce technological development. And the third thing that comes to my mind is the balance that we have today in many countries between the potential of ICT, a theme which you will be discussing, and the burden of inaccessibility. People wanting information and they cannot find it. This is what many people claim, of course. It might not be true, but it may be true. It might be true that we are not reaching people enough, that we are talking to ourselves. The world we live in as professionals is not the world that people live in. They live in a completely different world. And sometimes what I hear at home, at least, is that we are inaccessible. And don't forget, this is one of the 4 priorities of the recommendation of 2008, to make ourselves more accessible. So how we can facilitate accessibility, I think, is a guiding principle in providing good guidance services. So, unity through balance could be a frightening theme for guidance or for career guidance. We need imbalances here. We need to push people to become active citizens, stronger citizens, not weaker citizens or marginalized citizens. And what Cedefop is doing in pushing this philosophy, you will hear from my colleague Pedro in the forthcoming workshops. But we are doing a lot of things. You will see, for example, a tool which is called Skills Panorama, which is a very useful tool for guidance, for career guidance, where you have all the information on trends, on what is happening in the world of work, how this will affect young people, what jobs in the future, where do we fail, where do we have success. The bird is still alive. So this is one activity which we are doing. The other activity is the toolkit for early leavers, which we have just launched this year. But other activities, toolkit for practitioners, handbook for policymakers. There's a whole list, which I will not read because it will take me more time. The key message I want to share with you this morning is that when we look at the future, when we look at guidance, career guidance, the first point that I would like to conclude with is that guidance must not be continuously confined to education institutions. We must move away from this home of education institutions and penetrate where people are, on places of work, where we could reach more people with more information about the jobs of the future. Secondly, we must stride on the potential of digital technology. We must use digital technology for the benefit of making information more accessible. People today speak to technology. Sometimes technology makes us enter into ourselves and become a solitude entity. This is dangerous, but this is where guidance comes into it. Therefore, guidance moving towards a more humanistic approach. Let us not forget that language, communication, is the best tool that human beings have. We must make use of it. I keep listening to what my wife keeps saying to me when I asked her, what about counseling and what about guidance careers? What is it all about? Well, I think the word she uses is that for many people, especially for parents and young people, guidance is like oxygen. When you can't breathe anymore, you don't know what to do with yourself anymore, people come to you. And we must have the answers. And the answers are there, because research has indicated the future of the labor market. We know where the jobs will be. We know what skills people need. We need to be more attractive. We need to really get them into learning for life. And therefore, looking at your program, I think you will achieve what the Deputy Minister has just said. You will be more enlightened by tomorrow. But keep in mind that all that we say, all that we share would be meaningless unless it infiltrates and filters down to where the learners are, whether they are in education institutions or at places of work. So I augur good communication, good interactivity over these 2 days, and go back to your countries with renewed energy to really make career guidance the vehicle for happiness for many young and older persons. Thank you very much.
Thank you.